friends, welcome back to my channel. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to make the border blanket for your Woodland Bloom blanket. Now, I do want to say if you have stumbled across this video and you are not making the Woodland Bloom blanket, you can totally stay because this border really does work for probably just about every stitch count. It's very versatile and it's very easy to fudge, meaning if you have an extra stitch or 2 or even 3, you can kind of fudge it and still make it work and no one's ever going to know. Now, for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to make a border around this square. This is just a smaller version of one of these squares here. So just for the sake of time, I'm just going to be making the border around this small square here. Now, I do want to give you a little roadmap of our border. So it's going to be 3 rounds total. We're going to start with a half double crochet round here, which is what you see here. And then we're going to work into the 3rd loop of these half double crochets. That's what's going to give us this nice little ridge here. We're going to work a round of double crochet stitches. And then our 3rd and final round is going to be this shell stitch border. Very, very simple border. So for supplies, you're going to use, now if you are making my Woodland Bloom blanket, you will use the same hook size, which is a 5mm, and then you'll need a pair of scissors and a tapestry needle. I am using my main color for my border. But if you are more adventurous than me, you can choose a contrasting color for your border. It really doesn't matter. But this is the color that I'm going to be using, that I did use, and that I'll be using in this video. All right, so I want you to grab your blanket. Of course, I'm just working with this square, but it's all going to be the same, okay? I want you to locate in any corner space. It does not matter which corner of your blanket you are starting out on. You can start on the long side, you can start on the short side. Just make sure that the right side of your work is facing you. Make sure you're not working from the wrong side. So right side of your blanket is facing you. You are going to choose any corner space. All right. So identify the 3 stitches that we did in this last corner space that we worked. And then I want you to locate the stitch over to the right before you got to this corner. So there's your 3 stitches. There's your corner space. There's the 3 stitches in that corner space. And then there's the stitch to the right. We're going to insert our hook into the top of this stitch. I feel like, at least for me, I feel like it's easier rather than starting in the corner. In this particular instance, I just feel like, I don't know, it's just my personal preference, I guess. I prefer to join a little more on the side than in the corner, and that's just my preference, but I guess you can really start wherever. So here's my 3 stitches here, my little corner space, those 3 stitches. There's the stitch to the right of that. I'm going to insert my hook into the top of that stitch and attach my yarn. Again, I am using my main color as my border color. Go ahead and chain 1. And you're going to work a half double crochet in the same stitch where we joined. And now you're going to half double crochet into the next stitch. And now we're going to make a corner. So we are at the middle stitch of the 3 in this corner space here. That's where we're going to make our corner. You're just going to do 3 half double crochet stitches all in this next stitch to make our corner. All right, and now we're just going to work a half double crochet in this next stitch. And you are going to continue to work a half double crochet in every stitch all the way across. Now, of course, you're not working a singular square like I am. You are actually working your blanket. Let me see if I can find a corner here. There we go. So as you're working across, obviously you're going to work over the seams here because you're going to work over multiple squares. So you're just going to continue to half double crochet in every single stitch across your seams all the way until you get to the next corner. So to give you a close-up, you're going to crochet again all the way across your seams, across all of your squares, and you're going to locate the middle stitch of the group of 3 in your corner space, okay? So you're going to half double crochet all the way across until you get to the first of the group of 3 in this corner space. So I've just crocheted all the way across. Okay. And I stopped. I did crochet in the top of the first stitch in this group of 3 in the corner space. And now I'm going to work into the middle stitch of this group of 3. I'm going to do just as I did on the first corner. I'm going to work 3 half double crochet stitches all in this middle stitch of this corner. All right, so what I want you to do is I want you to put me on pause because this is all going to be very much the same. So for the next 3 sides of your blanket, you're going to do the exact same thing. So once you've come across this side, you crocheted to the first of this group of 3 in this corner space, and then you made 3 half double crochet stitches in the middle stitch of this group of 3. And now you're going to begin your next side. And all 3 sides are going to be just like that. So you're going to crochet down this side. You're going to work 3 half double crochet stitches in the middle stitch of this group of 3. Crochet down this side to your next corner. Crochet, make 3 half double crochet stitches in the middle stitch of this corner. And then that'll bring you to your last side. So put me on pause. Go ahead and finish up this round on your blanket. I'll meet you back here. We'll close up this round together and then we'll start round 2. All right, now once you've made it all the way around, you're just going to go ahead and join with a slip stitch to that very first stitch and chain 2. All right, so on this second round, we're going to do the same that we did on this first round. So basically it's going to be 1 stitch in each stitch all the way across. And then in each corner, you're just going to identify the 3 stitches that are together in each corner. And we're going to work 3 stitches in that center stitch for our next, for the corners for this round. This round is going to be all double crochet stitches, and we're going to be working in the 3rd loop. So half double crochet stitches have 3 loops, 1, 2, and 3. This is the loop we're going to be working into, and it's going to, it's going to push these top 2 loops out, and it's going to give you this nice little ridge here along the edge. So our first stitch, we're going to work a double crochet stitch again into that 3rd loop, and I feel like this first stitch is always the hardest one to find, that 3rd loop, and they're all much easier after that. All right, so we're going to work 3 double crochet stitches before we get to the stitch where we're going to make our corner. So we just made our first one. Working into the next stitch, again working in that 3rd loop, you're going to make another double crochet and 1 more double crochet before we start our first corner. Working into that 3rd loop. And now we're going to make our corner. Still working in the 3rd loops, or in the 3rd loop, we're going to make 3 double crochet stitches. And now we're going to continue down this side. We're going to work in the 3rd loop, 1 double crochet stitch all the way across until we get to that the middle stitch of this group of 3 here. So I've just made it all the way across from this first corner, and now I'm about to make my second corner in the 3rd loop of this this middle stitch in this group of 3 in my previous corner. So 3 double crochet stitches all worked into the 3rd loop of this next stitch. And now I'm going to leave you and you are going to just do the same thing on all 3 of these sides. So again, 1 double crochet stitch in the 3rd loop, all the way down in each stitch. And then when you get to this corner, just make sure you're working in the top of, well, not the top of the 3rd loop of this middle stitch in this corner. You're going to work 3 double crochet stitches. You're going to do the same down this side and in this corner, and then you're going to have this partial side here. So go ahead and finish up the next 3 sides, and then I'll meet you back here to close up this round, and we'll start our last round. Now, once you've come to the end, you can go ahead and join with a slip stitch to that first stitch and chain 1. This is what your border should be looking like. You have this really pretty ridge here from working in those 3rd loops. All right, so it is time to work my favorite round, the shell stitch round. And again, like I said, this is going to be a very flexible round, so it really does not matter how many stitches you have. Obviously, I'm going to have a different stitch count just by working this small singular square, but you may have a different stitch count than I did on my blanket. One reason you may end up with a different stitch count than I did on my blanket is you may have used more squares on your blanket. I had, let's see, 5 rows of 4 squares. You may have chosen to use 6 rows of 5 squares, and that would definitely alter your final stitch count. Even if you did use the same amount of squares as I did, your stitch count may be different. It may be off by 1 or 2 stitches than mine, and that totally doesn't matter because this border is still going to work. So that's why I really haven't discussed stitch count on these border rounds. So to get started on this shell stitch round, you're going to single crochet into the same stitch where you joined. You're going to skip the next stitch. Oh, I should have said we are working in the top 2 loops again. We're not working in a back loop or a 3rd loop or anything like that. So working under the top 2 loops as usual. All right, so single crochet, skip 1, and we're going to work a shell stitch in this next stitch. A shell stitch is 5 double crochet stitches, all made in the same stitch. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You're going to skip the next stitch, single crochet in the next. Skip the next stitch, shell stitch in this next stitch. Again, a shell stitch is 5 double crochet stitches, all made in the same stitch. Once you finish your shell stitch, you're going to skip the next stitch, single crochet in the next. Skip the next stitch, shell stitch in the next stitch. So you may have recognized this little repeat that we have going. So basically you are working a single crochet, skip a stitch, shell, skip a stitch, single crochet, and then it's just going to continue to repeat. Skip, shell stitch, skip, single crochet. So let me do that with you 2 more times before I leave you on your own. So we just made our single crochet. We're going to skip, and now we're going to make a shell stitch. After that shell stitch, you're going to skip and make a single crochet. Skip, shell stitch. Oops, dang it. Skip the next stitch, single crochet. All right, so I'm going to leave you on your own. Now you'll notice that we're not doing any corners, and that's because the shell stitch really gives us enough volume all the way around to be able to turn those corners without our sides buckling in. So you're really just going to do that repeat, single crochet, skip, shell stitch, skip, single crochet, skip, shell stitch, skip, all the way around. I will meet you at the end, and you may, again, you may not end up exactly. Now, it did turn out that on my blanket, I did end up exactly where I needed to be. I have a feeling on this little square, I may need to fudge it a little bit. So I will meet you back here. We're just going to, finish up that repeat all the way around. I'll meet you back here, and I will help you finish up this round, depending on how many stitches you end up with. All right, welcome back. So I have not finished this up yet because I wanted to show you. I made my last single crochet stitch here. So I did, I did my repeat, right? Single crochet, skip one, shell, skip one, single crochet, skip one, which is this last stitch here. But maybe you have, maybe you don't have any stitches left over. Maybe you made your last single crochet in this last stitch and you don't have a stitch to skip. That's okay. Just go ahead and join. Maybe you have 2 stitches here. So you have this one and this one, and you made your last, you made your last single crochet in this stitch, and now you've got 2 stitches here. Still okay. You can either skip those 2 and join. It'll leave a small gap, but nothing that's noticeable. But if it's going to bother you, you could skip the first one and then single crochet in the next one and then just slip stitch. So are you following me? You see how there's multiple ways to kind of fudge this end if you don't end up with this, with the same amount of stitches to be able to finish up this repeat evenly. So once you've figured out the end of your border, I'm just going to join with a slip stitch to the base of this shell, the first stitch in this shell. And then from here, I'm going to fasten off. And that's it. That is your blanket border. So now all you need to do is weave in your ends, but your blanket is now ready to use. Thanks so much for joining me today. I hope you found this tutorial helpful, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.